key.
But what is it a key to?
What is it?
It's a Russian ICBM launch key.
Seriously?
It would launch a thermonuclear weapon, which is the most powerful weapon.
One of the most chilling items to ever enter the pawn shop wasn't a weapon, but a key. A key said to unlock the deadliest force known to man, a Russian ICBM launch system. Just holding it was enough to send a shiver down the spine. Its sleek, simple design concealed its terrifying potential. A trigger for global destruction, compact enough to fit in your hand. This wasn't just an artifact. This was a symbol of mankind's power to end civilization in seconds.
I mean, the thing that scares me about this, I could make this myself. I have a mill and a lathe in my garage. How much do you want for them?
I was thinking somewhere along the lines of 10,000.
Okay,
But something didn't sit right. For all its supposed danger, the key looked too basic. Could it really be what the seller claimed? The pawn shop called in an expert, hoping to separate fear from fact. The question on everyone's mind, is this an apocalyptic relic or just a well-machined decoy?
I've worked with plenty of aluminum. I can make that aluminum like
Well,
that.
out of aluminum you could, but if you made this out of titanium, you've got a bigger garage than anyone that I know, and you've got some really heavy machinery. Titanium is really hard to work with.
The truth was surprising. This wasn't a launch key for missiles. It was something else entirely. Forged from titanium and nearly impossible to replicate without industrial tools, the keys turned out to be tied not to destruction, but to space. These rare artifacts once controlled Russian space launches, not nuclear strikes. Still rare, still powerful, but with a legacy of exploration, not annihilation.
There were a lot more ICBM keys out there than there would be spaceflight keys.
Well, thanks for coming by, Mark.
Not a problem.
Now that I know what these things really are, I got to admit, I want them.
Despite the shocking twist, the value of the keys wasn't nuclear grade. While undeniably rare and made of high-grade titanium, the market was limited, and the mystique only went so far. An offer was made, far less than expected. The keys didn't sell, but one thing was clear. They were still some of the most significant and haunting items to ever cross the pawn shop counter.
So this is it, huh?
No, actually, this is it.
Really?
It's all there.
Yeah, I know you said it was in a crash, but you didn't tell me it crashed and burned.
A scorched skeleton of a helicopter rolled onto the lot like a ghost from a war zone. It had crashed, burned, and looked like it had barely survived a battle with gravity. But beneath the ash and twisted aluminum was a story, and maybe even a small fortune waiting to be uncovered.
Might give me a bad vibe or something.
A pilot and passenger were both fine.
All right. So why in the world did you buy this in the first place?
I love aviation, and I wanted a challenge. I thought it would be fun to be able to...
This wasn't just any wreck. It was a Schweizer 300C, a military-born bird built to endure punishment and bounce back. Designed for battlefield training, these machines were made to crash, survive, and fly again. The damage was brutal, but rumor had it the engine still had life.
The model number is a Schweizer 300C. This is a 1992. Now, this aircraft was originally designed for the military about 1967, and they did all of the flight training in the Army with this.
Despite the wreckage, the frame was solid, and the drivetrain parts were shockingly intact. The pulleys alone were worth thousands, and the engine, valued at $30,000 if it still worked. Hidden in this scrapyard corpse were whispers of profit if someone was bold enough to bring it back.
I can typically rebuild within about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. So did the motor survive the crash?
Oh, yes, it did. This is good. If you were to buy the engine, it'd be a $30,000 engine, and you have that good to start with.
But here's the catch. Rebuilding it would cost $100,000. It was a massive risk with an equally massive reward. A fully restored version could sell for $150,000, or even more. The seller wanted out, hoping to reclaim his $10,000 investment. For Rick, the gamble was on the table.
But if that translates into huge profits, I'm definitely interested. What did you want for this thing?
I bought this off the insurance company for $10,000, so that's what I'm looking to get out of it.
Oh, will you take any less than 10?
I mean, I can't really afford to take anything less than 10.
Rick pulled the trigger. 10 grand for a wrecked helicopter? Crazy to some, but smart if you know where to look for value. Worst case, part it out and turn a profit. Best case, rebuild it and flip it big. One move, one risk, one potential jackpot.
I feel like you're fixing to screw me. So what's going on?
Well, nothing. I'm just saying.
What have you done this time?
I bought a helicopter and I got it for 10 grand.
The shop's old guard was skeptical, and for good reason. It was one thing to sell rare coins or antique swords, but a helicopter? That was a whole new altitude. But Rick had a vision. Take this flame-kissed chopper and make it airborne again, or at least profitable.
What's it worth once it's fixed up?
I'm thinking like 150 grand.
You're thinking.
Well, no, I
Or you're assuming, which makes an ass out of you.
You forgot the me part.
Shut up.
Enter the expert. With precision and skill, piece by piece, the helicopter was resurrected. The frame was reinforced, the body rebuilt, and all critical parts either replaced or refurbished. A month later, what once looked like crashed debris now gleamed like a high-end machine.
Copter. A month ago, this thing was a scrap heap. Larry did an amazing job.
Basically, everything on there had to be rebuilt. The frame was okay, and the engine was okay.
It was rebuilt under budget, a miracle in itself. And better yet, the new valuation hit up to $175,000. That's a potential $60,000 payday from a single daring decision. It wasn't just a win, it was a masterclass in flipping the unimaginable.
Really happy we didn't go over budget, and I'll be really, really, really happy when we sell this thing and make a profit, because we got a lot of money tied up. You're gonna do the maiden voyage in it, Pop, so get up in there.
Now came the moment of truth, the maiden flight. The rebuilt bird lifted into the air, smooth, steady, and strong. The project had defied every doubt. From wreckage to resurrection, the shop had turned a disaster into a dream deal.
Two things. One, this was a good idea. And two, my son is balder than a baseball.
As the helicopter disappeared into the Vegas sky, one thing was clear. Some risks are worth taking. From fiery crash to flying high, this was one of the wildest flips in Pawn Stars history. In the world of pawns and profits, this deal soared above the rest.
My shop, a 23-window 1959 Volkswagen bus Samba. This thing is absolutely beautiful. But people now are actually faking 23 and 21 window buses.
A rare classic just rolled into the shop, and it wasn't just any van. It was the holy grail of Volkswagens, a 1959 23-window Samba bus, mint condition, gleaming like a cherry on chrome. But here's the twist. This market is crawling with fakes, clones crafted to trick collectors. The big question now, is this beauty the real deal?
I want to know if everything's original. Give me an idea what you think it's worth.
It's a European model, that's for sure. And I can see it's got the semaphores on it.
From the ceiling wax red paint to the fluted lenses and vintage semaphores, this ride had all the right features, but the truth was stamped in metal. The M code plate, like a DNA test for VW buses, it revealed everything. Model type, country of export, build date. All signs pointed to one thing: authenticity. This wasn't just a look-alike. This was a real, rolling masterpiece.
Well, do your magic.
All right, let's take a look.
Bill is literally a Volkswagen encyclopedia, so he's going to know what to look for and make sure everything's right, because I'm more than willing to pay over 6 figures for this thing.
The proof was there. A verified 23-window deluxe model, exported straight to Greece. With that confirmation, the stakes skyrocketed. A potential 6-figure payout now rode on 4 retro wheels. But before Rick could even consider dropping serious cash, there was one final test: the drive.
So you okay with us taking it for a ride?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, which way's beach?
$175,000 car around.
And off it went, cruising through the Vegas streets like a showroom dream. Tight handling, no rattles, not even a whisper of wear. The ride was smooth, solid, and surprisingly modern for a 60-year-old machine. From inside, the panoramic view was unreal glass everywhere. Zero blind spots, just miles of open sight.
Solid, there was no rattles, everything was tight. One that's been fully restored is just a dream to drive.
So, what'd you guys think?
She's pretty tight.
Yeah.
It is really, really clean. And what do you think it's worth, Bill?
It was clear that the restoration was top-notch. As far as vintage buses go, this one was practically a unicorn. But when it came to value, opinions clashed. Some saw $175,000 on the table. Others guessed between $120,000 and $140,000, depending on auction results. And auctions, a gamble all their own. One bad day, and this bus could roll away for far less.
I've seen them go through as low as 80.
You won't find them like this anymore. It doesn't get any better than this right here.
It is clean, I'm gonna give you that, but I think if it were running through the auction, you'd see it right there between.
Rick had to tread carefully. One wrong move and he'd be underwater on a pricey gamble. The seller stood firm, He believed in his bus, but Rick had his limits, and when the numbers didn't align, the deal hung in the balance.
If he buys it and decides he doesn't like it, he's not sunk.
So what's your bottom dollar on it?
I want 175. You know, I probably would take 140, 150 range on it.
Negotiations hit a wall. The seller wanted $175,000, would budge to $150,000. Rick floated $105,000. They danced around $125,000, but neither man blinked. Just two poker faces, both holding their ground. In the end, no deal. Not today.
If you change your mind, call me.
Will do. Thanks for your time.
All right, man.
I think I'm just going to take it home and keep it for now. They keep climbing in value, and we'll see what happens in the next few years. It's really hard to let it go.
The bus rolled out the same way it came in. Beautiful, mysterious, and just out of reach. But with values climbing and collectors circling, its time would come. For now, it was back to the garage, a legend waiting to be driven into history.
I'm out here on the East Coast on a work trip with Chum. We're checking out a 1782 bronze Spanish cannon. The seller wants $75,000. So I'm waiting on Alex. Tell me if this thing is a bang or a bust.
On the East Coast, Rick and Chum stumble upon a beast of a relic, an 18th century Spanish bronze cannon. Cast in 1782, it loomed large and glimmered with mystery. The seller wanted a jaw-dropping $75,000, but before Rick opened his checkbook, he needed a verdict. Authentic treasure or dangerous dud?
Actually realized it was quite this big, but this is gorgeous.
Where would you have found a cannon like this?
It actually says it, yeah. So there were two main foundries in Spain at the time, Barcelona and Seville. This one is
bronze, not iron. That alone made it a serious contender. Back then, bronze cannons ruled the seas, resisting saltwater corrosion and symbolizing power. Embellished with a royal cipher and christened El Tronidor, the Thunderer. This wasn't just a weapon, it was a statement, an ornate badge of naval might.
good iron, which is why you use very ornate royal cipher. And also, every Spanish cannon always had a name, which is up here on a scroll. It's so cool. So this part of the cannon's called the chase.
The carriage it rested on? A mismatch. A 19th century replacement not original but still solid. For collectors, that could ding the price. But the cannon itself? Museum-worthy. Polishing it would be a crime against history. This wasn't about shine, it was about story. And this one had fire in its past.
Make this a great display piece.
Would you polish it up?
No. Polishing this up would be like an absolute crime. This is what collectors love.
So she wants $75,000 for it.
But talk is cheap. To earn that $75,000 tag, this thunder tube had to prove it could still roar. The plan? Fire it with a reduced charge, 8 ounces of black powder, and a canister shot of musket balls. Lower pressure, less risk. If it could fire safely, the value conversation would explode wide open.
Even though it's solid bronze.
It is still over 200 years old.
Exactly. And if it does fail, it's much better to have it fail under low pressure than high. And once it shoots,
Rick geared up, heart pounding. The shot was loaded, the fuse was set, and tension thickened. Everyone took a step back. One misfire and this 200-year-old beauty could shatter into history's dust. But if it roared, this would be the coolest work trip ever.
still gonna give us a good bang.
Oh my God.
And these are the projectiles. So it's a canister shot. So this is 50 musket balls. And the idea is much like a shotgun.
Boom. The cannon blasted like thunder across the field. The air shook, chests thumped. And the shot? A direct hit. No cracks, no failure, just raw historical power. Rick was stunned. The cannon wasn't just a relic, it was alive, and it was glorious.
I mean, boom, and you just feel the concussion right into your chest. But it was great.
Wow! Has been hit.
I mean, it did hit it. I could see it from here.
Oh, I felt that.
That's good news for someone.
It is.
The verdict? The cannon alone was worth $40,000. The carriage added up to $10,000 more. Together, $50,000 was fair market value. Not quite $75,000, but definitely not pocket change. It had beauty, function, and history on its side. Still, Rick had to haggle.
It would cost you at least $5,000, maybe $10,000. So as a pair, I think $50,000 is fair.
Okay, thanks, man.
All right,
Appreciate
see you guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
All right,
Still a lot of money for a cannon.
let me take it off your hands for $35,000. That way your husband won't try it out and blow himself up.
He offered $35,000, hoping the promise of safety and removal would sweeten the deal. But the seller held firm. The cannon wasn't just a piece of metal. It was a burden with explosive potential. $42,000 and it was gone forever. No more backyard blasts.
Number one is shipping.
So 42, and you'll take this off my property. and I'll never see it again.
I will get a truck to come here and pick it up. It'll never be on your property again.
Deal.
Figure out where you're gonna get $42,000 from.
Rick agreed. The deal was done. A 1782 war machine now heading to the pawn shop floor. From field test to full buy, it was one explosive purchase. And as Rick left with the Thunderer in tow, one thing was clear: this was no bust. This was a literal bang for his buck.
Okay. Rocky Marciano. Yeah. Nice.
These are championship-worn trunks that he fought Roland Lastaza with his second fight.
Okay, that's amazing.
A man walks into the shop with a collection that could punch harder than Marciano himself. Championship-worn trunks, fight-used gloves, a retirement watch, and a ticket stub from Rocky's final bout. These aren't just keepsakes, they're boxing history. And the seller? He wants $300,000.
Marciano's the one.
A lot of people out there would argue that he's the best boxer of all time.
There's no argument.
What else we got?
This here is a watch that was given to Rock.
The legend of Rocky Marciano is unmatched. 49 fights, 49 wins, 0 losses. Even Ali and Joe Louis tasted defeat. But Marciano, undefeated and unstoppable. If these items are legit, they could be worth a small fortune. But without proof, it's just another tale from the ring.
A guy who weighed 188 pounds could hold the world heavyweight title for 4 years straight. In a boxing town like Vegas, this stuff could go for a small fortune.
The seller claims the gear came from Rocky's own brother, Peter Marciano. No paperwork yet, but promises it can be provided. Even more compelling, he's not doing this for profit. He wants to raise money for the Rocky Marciano Foundation, helping underprivileged kids chase their dreams.
Marciano Foundation, which gives out scholarships to underprivileged children.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, I'm looking to get $300,000 for everything.
But this is Pawn Stars, and proof is everything. So Corey calls in an expert. If anyone can separate a legend from a long shot, it's this guy. And when he shows up, one thing is clear: this memorabilia is intriguing. But intrigue doesn't write checks.
We could have some serious money here.
Absolutely.
The single word that comes to mind when I think of Rocky Marciano is the word fearless. He was just your prototypical bruiser in every sense of the word.
First up, the ticket stub from Rocky's final fight against Archie Moore. Worn and weathered, but authentic. In that condition, a solid $100. Not bad, but nowhere near 6 figures. Next, the retirement watch. Personalized, classy, and genuine. That's another $5,000.
Now, here we have a watch presented to Marciano.
Right.
Okay. Considering how immensely popular Rocky Marciano was, I'm sure he received a lot of these little perks. Based on the fact it's a quality watch, I would say it's worth around $5,000 then.
Then we hit the main event, the gloves and trunks. Everlast, Bentley, all Marciano's go-to gear. And if these gloves really touched Joe Prezzi, that's the kind of artifact collectors dream about. But without concrete proof, even greatness sits on the ropes.
What it all comes down to with items like this is what can we prove? So, I mean, do you have any kind of paperwork with these?
I don't have it on me, but I can get it.
A notarized letter from Peter Marciano would help, but even that won't guarantee a KO in the collector's market. Still, if authenticated, the trunks alone could fetch $15,000 to $20,000. And the gloves? Easily $25,000. Possibly the most valuable Marciano item out there.
You're talking $15,000, $20,000 on the trunks alone. Okay. Now the gloves, again, these could quite possibly be the best piece of Marciano memorabilia ever if we get the right paperwork in place. Being that a pair.
Bottom line, around $50,000 for the lot, with the potential to go much higher if bulletproof documentation comes through. It's not the $300,000 dream, but it's a respectable starting point. Corey's intrigued, but not enough to buy. Not without the receipts.
I know the seller was hoping for a higher price than I quoted him, but that's just a bottom line number. Of course, it can go for exponentially more, but I mean, good luck in finding the guy that's going to pay that.
The seller's disappointed, but not defeated. He knows what he has, and he's willing to fight for it. The expert's advice? DNA testing, better documentation, maybe even an auction. Because without proof, collectors won't gamble 6 figures, not even for Rocky.
I want the sweat tested of this to find out if it's Marcy. You know what I mean?
I understand where you come from.
I mean, I believe every word you're telling me, but a letter ain't gonna do it to get the big bucks.
So in other words, you're not interested.
So the seller packs up, hopeful and unshaken. He's taking the collection to auction. And if it doesn't sell, well, he's got sunshine, family, and Rocky's legacy on his side. In Vegas, that's still a win.
Batman #1, 1940.
Forgive me, you've kind of brought me one of the holy grails of comic books here, and I'm just almost speechless.
A man walks in with a Batman #1 comic from 1940, the holy grail of comic books. This iconic book introduced Batman, the Joker, and Catwoman. It's one of the most recognized covers in comic history. And the seller? He's hoping to cash out with $250,000.
This is definitely cool. He's always been my favorite superhero. Typically, one of the biggest reasons people like Batman is he didn't come from outer space.
This comic is more than just a superhero origin story. It's the first appearance of Batman's two most iconic villains. It was graded at a solid 5.5, a high grade for such an old comic. The seller knows its worth, but can he find someone willing to pay top dollar?
But this was his actual first comic book where it was just all about Batman.
I mean, they even introduced the Joker and Catwoman in this issue. Two pretty iconic characters.
This is a big deal, man. I've never had something like
The seller has big plans, hoping to sell the comic and do something good with the cash. But Corey's hesitant. He knows comics can fetch high prices, but this is out of his wheelhouse. So, it's time to call in a comic book expert to appraise the value.
Okay, what are you looking to get?
$250,000.
Oh, okay.
The expert's eyes light up when he sees the book. This blue label tells him it's unrestored, meaning no alterations have been made. A rare find in Golden Age comics. But there's a twist. The comic's value has dropped in recent years. In 2016, it went for $239,000, but by 2018, it was selling for $210,000. Why the decline?
So tell me more about the blue label, because I don't know much about comic book grading.
Generally speaking, a lot of Golden Age books have been played with, restored, someone's done some coloring.
The expert thinks the 5.5 condition might be the issue. Some collectors don't like the dirt and wear on the book, but even so, he'd still be willing to buy it for $210,000. $250,000 is a stretch, but would the seller take less?
For some strange reason, this book actually went down in value. In 2016, it sold for $239,000. In 2018, it sold for $227,000. The last purchase was for $210,000. That's you, right?
That's me.
Corey knows this is a huge book, but it's just too rich for his blood. He's not a comic book investor. To make money, he'd need to buy it at a steep discount and wait for the right buyer. So, he offers $100,000, hoping to flip it for a profit.
They probably looked and said, it's a little dirt, and I don't want to pay all that money for this book. So, hung there for a while, and then someone came in and was able to get...
The seller's not disappointed. This is a dream book for any collector. He's willing to hold on to it for as long as needed, knowing it's worth something special. $250,000 might be a stretch, but sometimes it's worth waiting for the right offer.
Okay, realistically, what would you take for it?
$250,000.
Okay, I believe it's worth every bit of what you're asking for it.
The comic stays with its owner for now. Corey's passed on it, but Batman #1 will always be a collector's dream. The seller's still hopeful, dreaming of that big payday.
Got a Soviet fighter jet. Normally, I avoid aircraft because they tend to be money pits. But this one seems like something I could turn a...
Rick's checking out a Soviet fighter jet, an L-39 Albatross. Normally, aircraft are a money pit, but this one's got huge profit potential. So he calls in his buddy Matt, a Top Gun-trained Blue Angel pilot, to give it the once-over.
For the Soviet bloc planes. There's several third world countries that still use this. Georgia, Libya.
Would they put bombs on it, things like that?
You know, it'd be a little different. This is a fuel tank. You could take this off, strap on a gun pod.
Matt dives in, breaking down the jet's history and military use. It's an advanced trainer, perfect for third world countries still flying Soviet-era jets. The L-39's versatile, can load bombs, guns, or missiles. This could be a secondary option for wealthy collectors who can't afford F-18 or F-16.
Then we're gonna look at the airframe. The paint job looks really good. As you can see corrosion on there. I don't see any signs of that. Soviet Union builds.
Rick's worried. Jets are risky, and he knows nothing about them. Matt checks the engine, airframe, and cockpit. Everything's looking good. The gauges are converted to English for easy use. But the ultimate test? Flying it.
So who's first? Chum, how about it?
Probably not. I don't have insurance.
Rick, you want to go flying with me?
No.
Matt's ready to take the jet up, but Rick and Chum aren't so brave. No insurance, no thrill. Matt's off to test the jet. It's just like a test drive. They'll check the instruments, maneuverability, and the fuel transfer.
Now it's time to take the jet flying. Rick and Chum are missing out. Rock and roll. The flight today, it's just like test driving a car.
Matt's flying high. Everything's working perfectly. The jet is in great shape and well maintained, but Rick's still on the fence. It's a 25-year-old Russian jet, way too risky for him to fly for fun.
So it's very well maintained.
So how was that?
Well, you made it back, so that's a good sign.
Matt values the jet at $170,000 to $180,000, a little more than Rick expected. But Rick's worried about the maintenance costs, $5,000 a month just to keep it in the air. Plus, the hangar cost is another expense. He's in deep waters.
And if I bought this thing and it took a while to sell it, how much is maintenance on the thing just sitting on the ground?
You know,
Rick decides to go for a lowball offer, $150,000, but Matt's firm asking for $200,000. Rick realizes buying isn't the issue. It's the cost of ownership that makes this jet more trouble than it's worth. He's tempted, but ultimately, this jet's a huge risk.
I'd like to get $200,000 out of it. I think it's a fair price.
The buying it's not the problem, it's owning it's the expensive part. And the scary thing about this is how much it would cost me if I didn't sell it real quick.
If you make a decent offer, I could actually hangar it.
Rick passes on the jet. It's too much of a gamble for him. Matt walks off, confident the right buyer will come along. As Rick reflects on the jet, he knows it could have been an epic toy, but sometimes even the most badass pieces just aren't worth the hassle. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Your support helps us grow and bring you even more exciting videos. Plus, hit the bell icon so you never miss out on the latest updates. See you in the next one.